It's time for another episode of the Adam Daly One Show.
Oh, man. I don't think people are coming here for me.
All right, then the Day One podcast.
The Day One podcast. Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, I'm Brent Nord.
I'm Adam Daly.
Yeah, looking forward to another episode.
Episode 11. We're very excited about today. Not a ton of updates for today, but we do have some cool Day One discussions that Brett has had this past week. Or recently, I should say. It could be this way.
Sure.
And then we have a great tip/tutorial today that I want to talk about that was brought up on the community page on Facebook. So
it's a good one.
We've got a good episode for you this week, guys.
We do.
And girls and everyone. Yes. So should we start with updates then?
Sure.
Okay. I don't have a ton of updates for 3.0. As we have announced already, it has been released to external beta testers, and we have received great feedback from the from the testers about what's working, what's not, bugs, etc. Those are all getting pushed through to the engineers, and they are working all hands on deck on those features, making sure that it's tip-top.
Is it officially 3.0? It's not 3.0 or version 3?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. 3.0. What did I say?
3.0.
3.0.
That's okay.
I guess.
Is it a
Isn't
letter?
that just like a tech thing that people say these days?
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it's in beta, and we've got some great feedback from users about what they like, and what they want to see, what bugs there are, and it's just that last push for polish.
Yes. Very close.
I agree, and I love it. I've been really enjoying it. The dark mode on iOS is fantastic. Beautiful. At night, and one of my favorite parts of that is the scheduling. So you can schedule dark mode,
sunrise, sunset.
I know. I'm not trying to spoil everything, but just sorry, everybody.
But we're that close.
I know,
so
we are
talk
that close.
about it.
We are that close.
Get excited.
So thank you, everyone, for your feedback that's participated in that. If you're not on the beta, that's okay. It's coming soon.
I have to say I'm a little disappointed. I did a theater, like Fiddle on the Roof reference there, and you didn't pick it up. And I know you love theater. Well, sunrise, sunset. Come on.
Fiddler on the Roof, though,
What? It's classic. Okay, I'll let this one slide, but I'm going to try to find another.
It's a tired old play, isn't it?
Stop.
I was in that play
Tradition.
twice.
Come on.
No, I know. But I was in that play twice as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, in community theater.
Ah.
Yeah. Just just ensemble.
Sure.
Person.
Downplay it. It's awesome.
No, I'm okay downplaying it.
Good.
I'm okay downplaying it.
No.
Yeah. Oh, and then I wanted to mention just about the Mac. So we're working on parity for the Mac as far as the 3.0 for iOS is concerned. The 3.0 release is specific to iOS, and the plan for Mac is have a 2.8 update, which will support the new editor and audio playback. And then we're planning on a full 3.0 release for Mac as well, which will support audio recording.
I see.
Now, one thing I don't know about, and many of you may ask, is about dark mode on Mac.
Hey, is dark mode on Mac?
Because Mojave is doing like a system-wide dark mode.
Yes.
And, I'm not sure what that'll entail as far as like how our implementation goes with it, but I'm sure there will be some support for third-party apps in that. Hopefully, quote-unquote. Again, I don't want to shoot off the hip and say, yes, it'll be there. But
right. And that's sometime this fall is what Apple's saying.
Yeah. Yeah, for the Mojave release 10.14 on Mac, and iOS 12 is coming out. I know a lot of people have been testing the beta on that.
Sure.
Pretty stable beta as far as betas go.
Yes, I'm actually installing it on my Mac.
We should play a drinking game, invite our listeners. Every time I say beta, take a drink.
Take a swig.
And you will probably die.
Yes.
Do it with water, and then you'll be properly hydrated.
Right.
You'll get your 100 ounces
There we go. You just said drink. You didn't say what kind of drink.
That's true. That's true.
Certainly.
Anyway, so that's about it. I don't have a ton. We're just pushing through that last bit of polish on 3.0 for iOS.
Right.
And trying to get it out the door as quickly as possible. And part of that, we also talked about wanting to get Paul back on the show.
Right.
Talk about what that's been like and the whole process. So
I actually talked to him about that this week.
Great.
He's excited. Thinks
Awesome.
it'll be a great timing. We'll be in 2 weeks,
Yep.
right? Is when we'll do that.
Yep, exactly. So it'll be pretty good timing. Yeah, I agree.
Awesome.
So we have a discussion today.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, this is Brent from North Carolina, and Brent, you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast a few days ago. I actually interviewed or had the discussion with Brent back in June, so a couple months ago. And had a really great discussion. It was really unique in that he uses Day One personally, but as well he runs a ministry, and so he talks about how he uses it with his congregation and how he used it for planning with his staff. So
awesome.
We'll get into that discussion and we'll talk about it.
Okay, let's have Brent introduce himself.
Sure.
My name is Brent. I am a United Methodist pastor in the Triangle of North Carolina. I live in Durham. I work in Chapel Hill. It's a great place.
You know, a pastor from North Carolina, I wonder if he's a Devils fan.
That would be ironic. I don't think he's a fan of the Devil, but maybe a Devils fan.
Of course. Or I wonder if he's a Tar Heels fan.
Tar Heel.
Because we have a Tar Heels fan engineer at Day One. Yeah, Michelle.
Sure.
Michelle's from North Carolina.
I've had tar on my hill when I go to the beach every few years, but I am not into sports, I have to say. I know what sports are.
College
I'm aware
sports,
of the games,
though.
But
College sports are great. The only
I'll take your word for it.
the only professional sport I follow is soccer / football.
You follow it.
/ football.
That's right.
Only the U.S. calls it soccer, but
yeah.
But anyway,
and some of us even call it boring.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. I'll say.
Come on.
Soccer. No problem.
The most popular sport in the world.
I know, but I never fall for that. It's like when you go to a restaurant and they'll say, "Well, the most popular dish is this." I'm like, "Why would you think I would want that? The most popular? Maybe I want the thing that's unique that no one knows about."
Fair enough.
Okay.
Brett trods his own trail, and I think that's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
I think that's fantastic.
Thanks.
All right, so this next clip is called Nightly Reflection. You want to give us a...
Yeah, sure. So again, to the point of how he uses Day One in his spiritual side, which I think is an important part, that is important to you, and it is for him. So I love the way he does this nightly reflection.
At the end of the day, I do the practice of daily examine. Are you familiar with that at all? So it's from about the 1500s, and St. Ignatius kind of pioneered it. And it's basically a review of the events of the day, trying to discerning the places where God was moving or at work. And so what I've done is I've created a TextExpander snippet, basically, that asks 5 questions at the end of the day. And I just kind of go through and fill those questions in. And what's been cool about that is, one, it helps me reflect, it helps me slow down, helps me pause, helps me with gratitude as well. And it's been really, really cool. I've shared it with the people at my church. I sent out an email just this week to the folks who are part of this new movement and said, "Hey, here's what I do at the end of every day. These are 5 questions that you can ask. And here's my journaling app of choice, or pen and paper works too." And so and I got a lot of really cool responses from folks. So St. Ignatius is the one who kind of pioneered it, and the questions that I ask are ones that have been adapted from that practice.
Cool, a little history lesson.
Yeah,
I like that.
Right.
And then he talks about the questions that he uses, right?
Yeah, I'll get into that.
And those 5 questions are: where did you experience the presence of God today? What are 3 things you're thankful for? Or what are you grateful for? What emotions are you feeling right now? There's one I'm not thinking of. The last one is, what do you hope for tomorrow? Because I have them in a TextExpander, I don't have to remember them because they're...
That's smart.
Yeah,
that's
good
smart.
Questions.
I agree.
I mean, even for someone like me that's secular, that doesn't do the thing with God as far as a reflection, still works. Whether it's universe or it's just people in general. You look for people, how they changed your life, and I believe in that for sure.
Well, and an element of introspection, right?
Yes.
And gratitude you can do,
of course,
with any
Yes.
Spiritual belief or non-spiritual belief.
Sure.
Just things you're grateful for.
That's right.
Helps you appreciate what you've got going on in your life.
Yes.
I think that's great.
Do you want to talk a second? He's going to share a little bit more with TextExpander, but do you want to talk about your personal use with TextExpander or what you think of it?
It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to have a template of something that you want to revisit every day, it's an awesome tool. Mm-hmm. They went to a subscription maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, again, it's paying for software that you use. So if that's a tool you find valuable, it's worth the subscription. I use it every day for work. I have a lot of support snippets for regularly spoken phrases or articles or whatever, like that. So it can be great for journaling as well. a great template workaround that's on demand.
There we go. I was going to say that with templates coming, that will, I think, replace the need for that possibly.
Sure. Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is if you're not really a power user of needing longer snippets, for example, I know TextExpander, you can do forms, like pick multiple answers and then continue on with this snippet. If you're really doing something basic, even a paragraph or two, you can do that in the keyboard shortcuts that's built into the settings for iOS phone or your Mac, and then do that. So I'll do a hotkey. In fact, when I do these day one discussions, I have a hotkey for Zoom, just ZM, which I can't think of a word that starts with a Z and M, so I'm not going to do it by mistake. So when I do ZM, it automatically populates with the instructions on how to connect with me. So,
that's cool.
Again, not a TextExpander. That's using the free iOS and OS.
Yeah. Well, and as I was just thinking, Apple acquired Workflow.
Right.
And there are ways to do templates through the URL scheme that you can have pop up in a journal entry. So, in
fact, Brent's going to talk about a detailed plan coming up. I don't know if it's next, but he's going to talk about how he does with audio.
Yeah, right now he talks about his audio workaround.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing with the audio is I've kind of put together a workaround, because I am often just driving in my car and trying to capture things, with my iPhone and stuff like that. So what I do is I record it in, you could use voice memos. I use the app Just Press Record, I think is what it's called. And I share that with a Dropbox folder. And then I have that Dropbox folder linked to If This Then That. And I have a markdown snippet basically with If This Then That pulls that file and says, here is a recording from today, and links to the file. And so I've got so I can just click on the link in Dropbox and it opens the audio file. And so that's a way, and then I can go back later and, kind of add notes, and that's been really what I've used that primarily for is I have a 2.5-year-old. And so I have the Just Press Record app on my watch. And so anytime she's doing something, adorable, or, I want to remember her voice, or, the little things that she says. And right now she's playing imaginary guitar and singing things like Baa Baa Black Sheep and ABC. Nice. So I record that and upload it, and at the end of the day, I'll go through and I'll say, this is my daughter singing Baa Baa Black Sheep, or whatever it is. She was reading Brown Bear, What Do You See? A few days ago, and so I did that. But that's kind of what I'm using that for, because pictures only tell part of the story.
Yes.
And video can be so kind of clunky and large size, and I love audio. So, that's been my workaround for not having audio in day one, and I think it works pretty well. So you're going to make that obsolete very soon, I hope.
Yep, exactly. Audio is great. I actually have been messing around with it. Same kind of purpose.
Sure.
I've been asking my kids, all right, what happened today? And just recording those.
That's great.
So it's awesome.
I thought you were going to say you use it when you play Baa Baa Black Sheep on the guitar.
I do that
too. Because you play guitar.
I dabble.
No, you do. I've seen you. You don't dabble.
I haven't given you audio of me recording, just little GIFs.
Awesome. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, that's a great use for that, and a
it
cool
sounds
workaround.
Complicated. I mean, it is a multiple step process.
Yeah.
That will be so much easier when it's built in.
Oh yeah.
The app. So
recording is.
But
great.
I'm with him on that. I think audio is so important. It captures the moment.
So this next clip that we have from him is what I'm going to talk about later with our tip and tutorials. So
Do you want to save it?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm okay with that. It'll just be a teaser.
There we go.
Right?
Yeah.
So there are some things that happen automatically. Like I use If Then That to kind of collect all of my social media stuff and my swarm check-ins and stuff like that. But when I'm really moving and doing it every day, it's usually because things have kind of slowed down, or I have determined in my life that I need to take those intentional moments to be still, to exhale, to breathe. And so, some days the Daily Examine, I wrote about this, and I can send you the post that I wrote too. But some days when I'm really tired, it's 5 minutes and it's a word or a sentence for each question. Other days, when something big happened, or when I have a lot to say, or when I have a little more time, or am even feeling a little more at peace, I'll take a little more time. And I think for me, it's just giving myself the grace to, even if it's just a word, or a sentence, to be okay with that, and to call that part of the streak.
Yep. I'm not gonna elaborate too much on that because we're gonna talk about it later, but I think that's valuable.
Yeah, I just want to say, and maybe I'll save this too for the discussion, but we have a tendency to be so hard on ourselves when we don't do what we think or say we're going to do. Like, oh, I'm committed to this app now, I'm going to record every day, and then you let a couple days slide, or exercise routine or whatever.
Yep.
But it's just important. I think he emphasized that, which is so great. Even a little counts, and that's good enough to keep up your consistency on the days that you just don't feel like it, because other days you will.
Agreed.
Okay, cool.
Agreed.
This is similar to the last clip, but I thought it was a really good little simple tip on to keep that streak going.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Right. I do use the app streaks to kind of create these habits, these disciplines, and that's been helpful as well. But yeah, and some nights I'll just go to bed. I'll create an entry right before I go to bed and not write anything, and then I'll pick back up the next morning.
Yeah.
So that I can save it in the timeline, so I know I'm going to do it right. But that helps me, because I don't like seeing a blank entry there. Like, that's one thing that like the red notifications. I just can't stand them. And so so if I see the blank entry, I'll go back in and write it. I'll find at least a little bit of time.
Sorry about that beginning. I thought I edited it tighter, but basically that idea of just even putting a word the night before and then the next day knowing that he can go back and elaborate, I thought was a good point.
Absolutely.
So he doesn't lose that streak of, even a word is a placeholder to come back to elaborate.
Agreed. Yeah. Talk about revisiting entries.
I love this one. This is great.
Every Friday I have a repeating to-do to go back through my day one for the week. Thank you for reminding me of that. Every Friday it's, I use Evernote, and so I'll organize my Evernote on Fridays. I will organize my to-do list on Fridays. But one of the other things I do on Fridays, because I take Fridays off, and so it's kind of a day of reset and breathe. Sabbath is what it is. And one of the ways I do that is just kind of reviewing my week. And so I do that every Friday. I go back through my entries for the week and look at the pictures, and I always try to post a picture every day, and go through as well the daily examine, and also when I'm doing my Bible study in the mornings, I will not only offer some reflections, but I'll say, what's your sentence for the day and what's your word for the day? And so the sentence comes from a reflection, and the word is typically a word that kind of jumped out from all the different passages that, and I typically take that word and kind of meditated on it for about 10 minutes at some point during the day. And so I'll go, it's fun to go back and see what the word was, or see what the sentence was for the day.
What a cool practice,
right?
Reviewing kind of weekly. Mine's been mostly on this day, years past, but kind of going back weekly and just taking kind of an inventory. Mm-hmm. That's a neat thing to do.
I thought that was awesome for that reason. And also, I would say the majority of those discussions I've had, people do not reflect. They just kind of move to the next day. And so day one, the activity is the capturing and the recording, but rarely is the activity or the time with day one reflecting and going back. I think is really, really great.
Yep.
So good job, Brent.
Last one, he's got a tip for us, and it's about TextExpander. So
yeah.
I think the biggest thing that has helped me is the integration with TextExpander, because I can build in the questions I want to ask, and depending on how much time I have two different snippets. So I have a short one and a longer one with questions that are already built in, so that I'm not trying to start from scratch, but I already have prompts built in. And the really cool thing about these prompts and these questions for me is that I know they're coming at the end of the day, and so I can look for them and be aware during the day, so that I know how to answer them. But TextExpander and things like that for me has been has really taken my journaling to another level, something that pen and paper can't do.
I love that he talks about how he had multiple templates for his TextExpander, a short and a long one, which of course with the new templates coming, it will maybe eliminate the need for him to do that. But knowing in advance what questions are going to be asked, he's kind of formulating at the end of the day what he's going to respond with. So
yeah. Well, I think that helps you if you don't know what to write.
Right.
Having some sort of idea or template that you can follow will give you that inspiration. Because I get stuck with that.
Sure.
Which is what I want to go into in a minute here with the tip that I have this week. Is I'll save that for then.
Okay.
But we want to do a teaser for a guest that we're going to have in the future.
That's right. I've maybe mentioned Lisa in the past from Washington, D.C., how much I enjoyed my discussion with her. She's a therapist in Washington, D.C., and uses Day One as a tool with her patients. And so I think that's a great use case, something that she felt like she does for herself as well, and reflecting she's going to share in depth. I had a really great discussion and thought, I don't even want to play her clips. I want her live for us to talk with her and go in more in depth, because mental health is such an important thing that we need to address and not have shame about, and talk about it.
Agreed.
And so I want to play the little clip of a teaser, just one point she made to get you excited about the upcoming discussion with her.
I'm Lisa from Washington, D.C., and journaling is very healthy is great for your mental health. I actually have been journaling since I was a little kid. I noticed that journaling tends to be something I turn to more when I'm having trouble or I'm processing things, and that's actually, I think probably one of the most helpful ways in terms of mental health to use journaling is to sort things out and to rewrite your narrative.
That's great. And what would you say to someone that says, because this someone is the guy you're talking to, I've often said, I don't want to record this because this is pretty awful what I'm going through. And the thought of reflecting back, if all goes well, then it'll be great to go, wow, look where I used to be and look where I'm now. But if things continue to nosedive, and then it's like, why would I want to go back and visit that? That was such a hellish time. What would you say to that?
Sure. And that's the question that our patients in psychiatry ask us all the time. Why would I want to talk about this trauma? But journaling or working over it in therapy, but journaling has been shown to be helpful for this too. When you write about it, you think about it differently, and you rewrite. We all have these ways of thinking that when we're thinking about something that might not be accurate, or like, this is all my fault. But when you write something about it, you actually reframe it in a way that's more accurate and helps you work through that problem.
Okay.
That's great. And I agree. I've mentioned this, I think, a million times, and I'm going to say that till the end of time. But there's a catharsis in writing down the reality of the events as you experience them. You know what I mean?
Yes. I know what you mean. Yeah. And I want to put the word out there too, that we haven't scheduled this yet. It'll probably be in maybe a month from now. But if you have questions about mental health and how using Day One as therapy that you'd like us to address with Lisa, if you've had success using it that way, please also email us and talk about it. Facebook community is one great avenue for that. podcast@dayoneapp.com is a great way to
email us. We'd love to hear that and maybe bring those up. Sure.
If you want to be anonymous, that's fine too. If you want to share, more personal details and let us know what you are comfortable with us reading, we will.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's great. Awesome. So that kind of brings me to what I wanted to discuss as a tip/tutorial. And again, this comes from a post from a user on the Day One community page, and I thought it was just fantastic and something we probably need to address with an audience at large. If you're not a member of the Day One community page on Facebook, and you are on Facebook, we invite you to be a part of that. It is a user-controlled group. We have a couple of moderators that are users. They're not Day One employees, but we are so thankful for them.
Yay, Michelle and Mike.
Shout out to Mike and Michelle. But it is your forum to discuss how you use Day One. And that's what it's been. We're very excited that you continue to use that. We're almost at 800 members of the group right now.
I'm actually 7 away at the moment. So
and the things that you have shared on there has been amazing. I love the questions you ask each other and the way that you guys answer each other. It's been amazing. So my tip comes directly from that, and I wrote it down in Day One. Can you believe it?
Nice. Good for you.
Where I take my notes.
While you're looking that up, things like Gordon, I can't pronounce his last name, so sorry, Gordon. I'm not even going to try because I'll get it wrong. Shared a blog post that he used.
He wrote,
talked about day one is how he uses his apps, and that's what we encourage too. Incorporating blog posts is something we'd love to share with the community.
Yep. Okay, so the question, it was a question. This user posted, I believe it was Blake, to the community. He says, so I have an issue where I will be really good about journaling for a while and then get behind and start adding just titles or images and tell myself I'll go back and catch up. But then I just continue to fall behind, and then I don't even journal in the moment. I've heard some people suggest to forget about retroactively journaling and just journal in the moment exclusively. Don't worry about the old stuff I haven't finished. But being somewhat of a completionist / perfectionist, it's so hard to just give up old stuff I haven't finished. Does anyone have any suggestions to avoid or combat this cycle? Combat, I guess.
Yeah.
That is a great question. And I did a class for a large genealogical conference this past year called Roots Tech, one of the largest in the world.
Right.
And I talked about journaling. And my purpose for that was, genealogical conferences are all about like researching your past, but less often we think about chronicling our own lives.
Right.
We're providing genealogical research for the future by writing down what we need to. And I think that's a big reason why we're invited to that and why I got to do a discussion. And one of my points was, I brought up some roadblocks that people run into when journaling. I don't know what to write. I don't have time to write, etc. And one of my big points was you need to define what journaling means for you. And that you may need to break the traditional idea of what journaling is.
Right.
And that's totally fine.
Yes.
Whatever it is for you is fine. Whether it be smaller mundane details of every, minutia of what's going on throughout the day, which is totally fine, or it's bigger moments or whatever. So what I was really impressed about, I know I'm going off on the soapbox, but I'm really excited about this.
Passionate.
What I loved about this were the responses from other users. And they address it. We didn't even step in at all.
Right.
And I loved the responses that came out of it, and I think it's worth sharing with everyone.
Yes.
So if you don't mind, people on the group, I'm going to say your first name. I won't say anything else if you don't want me to. That's fine.
Sure.
This is without their permission, so I hope they're okay with it. Hamza says, I think what you need to do is throw the concept of conventional journaling away. Your journal entry can be 1 sentence long or 5 pages long. Use it like your personal Twitter. That's how I do it. And I think that's to Brent's point.
Yes. Exactly.
It can be 1 sentence.
Yep.
And let yourself be okay with that.
That's right.
It can be a picture with just, I was at so-and-so's wedding.
Yes.
Or here's my child playing in the sprinklers, or whatever. That's completely okay. And
I think even the term for some people could be triggering, like, oh, journaling, that's so old-fashioned, or not me, or diary. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you reframe it as capturing your life,
yes,
then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I want to do that. Of course.
Yep.
It's like fitness versus movement. If you just say I want to move every day, well, that's fitness or exercise. Exercise can have a bad connotation, but yet movement.
Yep.
Why not?
Absolutely. Here's another post from Gil. I broke myself of this syndrome. And I'm not going to pretend that it's going to be easy. Like, it's going to take some work, but I think you can do it.
Yeah.
The way out is to not post partial entries with promises to complete them later. You're stealing, I love this phrase here, you're stealing from the future in ways that the future can't pay back.
Whoa, say it again.
You're stealing from the future in ways the future can't pay back.
Whoa, say it again.
No, that's it.
Okay.
You just get
We got it.
But I love that idea. Don't do things with the promise of fulfilling it in the future, because exactly you're stealing away time that you may not have in the future.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Be okay with what you're writing down now.
I'm going to put that as a deep thought in my
Do
journal
it.
that has no entries. I have one now.
Now you're going to have one.
That's good. No, that's really good.
Gil continues, give yourself permission to post that photo with a 1-sentence entry along with it, knowing that that's the whole post. Give yourself permission to not post something at all if you know you can't put in a few minutes to make it a real entry, quote unquote.
Right.
And he's, I like the quote there because real is for you is different than real for me.
Correct.
Let's see.
That's a great.
I scrolled up here. Sorry. There's nothing wrong with posting a few photos with a title and 1 sentence that says a few photos from Ted's birthday gathering and then moving on with life. Sure. This eliminates the looming backlog of entries you feel obligated to go back to, and it lets you live more in the moment, to your point. I've had entries appear later and on this day, or I found them scrolling around, and if I decide to pop in there and add a few more details, I will, but it's never a gloomy cloud of must-do work. Hope that helps. Gil, that's a great suggestion.
It's a great, yes.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, I think that also speaks to when you do put more of a detailed entry, that it's more genuine and real than feeling like, oh, I've kind of, fabricated whatever just to fill space.
Yeah.
And then you can really just jump to the ones that have meaning.
And I felt like that with paper journals. And I'm not going to knock paper journals. They have their value. I love handwriting.
Sure.
But I always felt like I've got this sheet in front of me, and I've got, I want to fill up a page for my entry.
That's right.
And then when it would be a paragraph, I feel, look at all this wasted space. And then maybe I would try to make more entries on one page or something. There's definitely that's completely allowed.
Have you tried larger font, just writing really big? Like
Sharpie style.
2 words per page? Then you filled a page. Multiples.
No, then I look crazy. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
When the police come find that journal, they're going to be like, wait a minute. No, but that's totally fine. With day one or digital journals, I don't feel that way because I can put in my picture, I can put it in just a sentence describing what happened, and that's good. That's great.
That's right.
If you want to write more, then maybe give yourself that time or set aside a time where you feel like, okay, I want to be more detailed in my journal. If that's what works for you, my recommendation is set aside that time on a regular basis.
So what I hear you're saying, Adam, is there's no wrong way to journal.
Bingo.
Okay, good.
That's what you're saying. Out of you're compiling all the nonsense that I'm saying into a more concise way to give people advice.
It would have fit on one page. What I just said. Yours would fill a journal.
Exactly. This is the difference.
That's right.
And then Gil continues here. He says, I don't know if this helps, but I think about how novels go. I think this was Gil. I didn't write down the name for this one.
Okay.
No one wants to read a novel in which every chapter is a mandatory entry about the protagonist according to some sort of schedule. Like, Monday I did this, Tuesday I found out this, Wednesday I did this, Thursday I didn't do much, etc. Most novels are interesting because you see something happening in someone's life, and then the next chapter might take place 3 days later, a week later. Chapter after that might be 2 weeks later, so the next day, and then a month later. So, surprise, Larry turned out to be the killer. Gasp! You wouldn't want your favorite novelist to be compelled to include a chapter for every single day, so why do we force ourselves to journal as if we must put in a certain number of entries per week or include every detail in our entries?
Boom.
That's a fantastic way to compare it. I think that's great.
Yes. And that dynamic is what we get on the Facebook community, which, our support page, obviously, that's not where we see that. And I think everyone was having these kind of discussions on their own, trying to figure it out. But until we had this community, this is great.
Yeah, now they have a platform to share those ideas, and I think, as long as it's helping you, that's the entire goal of it. So
that's right.
Anyway, that's my tip for this week. My tip is, quote unquote, define journaling. What does journaling mean to you?
Sure.
And that's your homework. Define what that means, and I invite you to stick to a schedule. Be consistent in whatever that is.
Right.
If it is writing a longer entry on a nightly basis or a weekly basis, stick to that schedule.
Exactly.
If it's taking a picture of, at an event and then writing down a sentence, call that good and then move on. And I think you're going to find a lot of satisfaction in that. Yes. Living more in the moment or giving yourself time to journal.
Agreed.
How long does it take to build a habit?
3 weeks, 21 days.
Is that what it is?
Sure.
Yeah. You can do it. And there's great ways to do it in day one. There's reminders is a great way to do it. As Brent talked about, TextExpander is a great way because he knows I'm going to throw that TextExpander snippet in there.
Yes.
I'm going to have, a form to fill out, and it's going to be great.
Activity log?
Yes.
Right.
Activity feed is great for seeing what you did from different sources.
Yes.
Facebook, Twitter, Foursquare, calendars,
locations,
photos. It's all in there. It's fantastic. Anyway, that's my tip for this week. Hope that's helpful.
That's helpful to me. I'm sure it will.
Okay, now I'm going to put you on the spot.
I hate this. Okay.
Do you journal regularly?
Depends on how you define journaling.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes, see, I listen.
No.
There's no wrong way.
No, you're absolutely right. But tell me, what's kind of your journaling routine?
Sure. Happy to share that. It is not one where I feel like I have to journal every day or record every day. I do through photos most days.
Yep.
I actually have used tags extensively and journals very minimally. I don't have many journals because I like to keep it all. Actually, I have one journal.
Okay.
I've put them all in there. And,
so you sort them, you organize them by tag instead.
Yeah, I do. And I would say day one is generally that's why I'm so excited to talk with Lisa for therapy. I really do write things down. Some entries I delete at the end because it's not something I want to record. It was just the idea of, like you said,
getting it out on paper,
so to speak.
Yeah.
And I've really, it does not come easy to me when I interview these people, friends that say, I've journaled since I was a little kid. I'm like, envious. I wish I had that habit started young. I didn't. And going through parenting with children, I took plenty of photos and video, but writing, didn't do. My wife did, so that's awesome. But I just wish I shouldn't say I keep wishing because I can change today and start doing it. It just doesn't come easy. It's something I have to really work on. But I have found I kind of keep day one as a sacred space for me of really when I want to be reflective. I don't really do the travel log thing because, like to your point with the novel, it's not interesting for me or anyone else to go back and say, I went to this restaurant or a client today or this and that, and work was okay, and I watched this movie. That's not as important to me as kind of how I'm feeling or how I'm processing things right then. So that's how I'm doing using day one.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Mine's similar as far as like the photos go. Mine is more of a chronology.
Sure.
Is that a word?
Sure. Yeah. Or a timetable.
Yeah. Well, a timeline, right? Where I'm taking pictures of events and it's more centered around events. And then my more introspective journal entries are more sporadic than that.
Yeah.
Where maybe, I'm sitting down and meditating or just deep in thought about something. And then I go, you know what? I need to write these things down.
Yeah.
And that's just come from good advice from other people that I've learned. So this isn't like some sort of breakthrough that I've had.
Sure.
But like just being able to write down things on paper and or digitally and work through those things. Sure. Working through it through words, through typing, through writing is so helpful. And I think sometimes we don't realize it, how helpful it can be just to get just pour it down on the paper and see what's going on.
That's right.
And then you can organize it later.
Yeah. This whole day one discussion project is really selfish for me because it's given me so many great ideas. I should be paying day one to let me do it.
Yeah.
Don't suggest it at all, but it has been great to get ideas. Some, not for me or not the way I would do things personally.
Right.
Others have, I'm going to start implementing that.
Yeah. And hopefully that's helpful for our listeners.
Exactly.
And that's the entire purpose of having those and putting them on the air here on the podcast.
So it's not just for me, is what you're saying.
It's for everybody.
It is. That's
so,
right.
That's all we got, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being a part of our show this week. And we look forward, hopefully in 2 weeks, we want to be back on the show with Paul and talk about 3.0. We'll see where we are as far as releasing it go. That's the tentative plan for now. So stay tuned for that. As always, you can subscribe to this show if you haven't already. If you're just listening to it on a streaming service, go to iTunes to subscribe or the podcast app on iOS. We're on Spotify. You can get us on Stitcher or wherever you find fine podcasts.
That's right. MySpace?
Yep.
Really?
Does MySpace exist still?
No, it's a joke.
No.
Prodigy, CompuServe.
But we would love, if you wouldn't mind, now this is, I don't want to pester you, and we don't have a way necessarily of doing that through any of these services. But if you aren't listening to the show and you have found it helpful, go ahead and review us on those platforms because that just helps, the rankings and the algorithms so that we can help more people, and that's the idea.
Sure.
So
that's right.
Go ahead and rate us. We'd love that. Thank you.
It's been a few episodes since we've talked about how much we appreciate the feedback, I think.
Yes.
And it really does help us craft how we do this because we're still kind of figuring it out. But it's been great. We hope it's been a service for everyone, so we'll continue.
Yeah. If you have questions, comments, feedback, way to journal, ideas, go ahead and write us at podcast. I almost said, I don't know what I was saying, actually. Podcast at dayoneapp.com.
That's right.
And then join our community on Facebook, facebook.com/group/day1community.
It's just, sure. I'm not sure.
Well, the link is below.
Search in Facebook Day One Community.
Yeah, the link is below. Yes. There are just a couple of questions to join the community. It is closed, so we're not sharing any data out of there.
Of course.
And then it is run by you. What we hope that it is a platform for is so you can talk about your use of day one, best practices, or glean from other users.
That's right.
If you need technical support, we ask you to go to dayoneapp.com/contact to get through the official support channels.
Just one more thing I want to say.
Of course.
I forgot to mention them when we were doing the Facebook talking about the community is Lou, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, actually did a post about a book he read called Gratitude Diaries: Looking Bright and Transforming Your Life, and said
cool.
it was an awesome book. Put a review about it, and I thought, why don't we do a book club?
That'd be fun.
So we're actually gonna do that.
Cool.
Yeah. So we can talk about it, and we'll do a Zoom call maybe a month after I post the book, and we can talk about it. Any of you that want to join in that discussion, we can do that.
In relation to day one and your journaling.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah, so be part of the community. Of
Fantastic.
course, I'm hoping Lou will agree to do this, but I'd love him to run it.
Right, right.
Community-based.
No, and I think for me, just again, as I've been observing the community, how you have run it has been the best way. Yeah. The users. So
for sure.
We sometimes comment as users ourselves, but we want to make it kind of hands off and let it be run by you guys. So.
That's right. Let it be.
I say guys is universal.
Of course,
I promise.
We know. Yes.
It's so ingrained, like I cannot get that word out of my brain. Anyway, thanks for joining us this week.
Great.
We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Take care.